Welcome to a special series of podcast discussions for the BC Construction Association with leaders from 5 sectors of the industry so pivotal to our economy and to our well-being. I'm Kirk Lapointe. I'll be your host for this series of conversations on the life stories of these leaders and their insights about their industry. Now, the roots of Campbell Construction in Victoria date back more than a century now, first as Looney Construction, and to its position today with more than 250 employees on projects large and small, operated by our guest in this segment, Wayne Farey. Wayne, I want to explore your life story and all of this, and I feel like I have to, though, start with the issue of family and what kind of a significant role it's played in your career. So wind back the clock, if you can, for me, and talk a little bit about how family was a central force in some of your decision making very early on in life and what to pursue.
Yeah, sure. I think probably my family being part of the construction industry from very, very early on. My father started his carpentry apprenticeship in 1952. And then going into business in the early 60s and starting the company that I operate now. So it's been, the construction's always been an influence in our lives and was basically part of our lives, with my dad being fully involved and running a business.
What are your memories about even being a child and having your father in a position where he's working in this sector, and what you think it did in terms of transferring values to you and a work ethic to you and maybe an outlook to you?
Well, my dad was very driven, and he was basically a superintendent running jobs starting when he was 19 years old. So I guess I think a lot of that instilled in myself as far as, what I wanted to do in life and getting into the industry. Seeing my dad working long, hard hours, starting a business from scratch with his 2 partners. I witnessed that whole thing from basically early childhood.
Yeah. Could you see what he was getting in the way of a reward in all of this? What the impact was on him, and therefore something that you also might be able to get if you entered that field too?
I think what happened with myself and learning from my dad was leadership aspects. As far as learning how to communicate with people and treat people, my dad was always very fair and honest, and I think he expected people to work hard for him, but at the same time treated them very fairly and well, and communicated very well to people.
We come from an era, both you and I, where the trades were much more prominent in schools, where really they were really trying to produce tradespeople in large numbers, and of course that's pulled back now. But talk to me a bit about how, if you had family as one influence, how the schools also played an influence for you.
I was always interested in carpentry and woodworking, but moving into the school system, it was introduced very early, and thinking back, probably as early as grade 7. And going to school, you had the choices of all shops, not electrical or anything like that, but metalwork and automotive and carpentry, not carpentry, but woodworking. So those options were always available.
You had them available, and you had to make some choices among them too. But did you know that it was going to be construction eventually for you, or were there other possibilities for you as you moved through the schools?
I started working for a fella building a wood boat, when I was 12 years old, and
Wow.
actually got to work on that boat for 5 years. So I think my choice was chosen, not for me, but my mind was made up that was what I wanted to do, was work with wood. Then when I got to 17 out of school, my dad kind of threw it out there and said, "Hey, do you want to start an apprenticeship?" So, but when I was in later years of school, 11 and 12, I had already decided that I wanted to be one day a superintendent running projects. So
Oh,
I think looking back at that, a lot of kids had their minds made up back then and knew what they wanted to do before they graduated.
yeah, it's changed quite a bit. I mean, you see now students come through an entire education period and still come out the other end, not necessarily knowing what their paths are. What kind of advantage do you think it was for you to really have your mind made up pretty early on? Yeah, how did it help you, do you think?
I think it was a huge advantage for me. And, you get so in carpentry, for instance, there's, you want to get your apprenticeship completed. At the same time, there's nothing stopping you from moving forward. So I advanced into doing layout of projects, uh, foreman roles, and actually was running jobs before I finished my apprenticeship.
Wow. So you were a leader in what, your teens?
I would say probably by the time I was 21, I was a
Mhm.
leader. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think now is missing? The diminution of the school system in producing tradespeople. What do you think we've lost here?
So I started to see it diminish as far as the trades, skilled trades goes. I started to see it diminish in the later 80s.
Hmm.
Um, and the first sign for me was when I went to build a middle school and I opened up the drawings and I couldn't find a shop, any
Right.
shops. So I kind of questioned myself, where's the shops? And the answer from the school board at that time when I was talking to them about it was, well, we're not going that direction. We're kind of going to the academic route, and we're not interested in having shops in the schools anymore. So that was the big decline where I saw the trades starting to slip. If you don't have interest and put interest into young people at a very early age, they're not going to know what they want to do. And, the trades is an excellent choice for people because you can make good money very quickly and you can advance yourself to whatever you really want to be. It's all dependent on the individual.
Did you feel like there was a stigma that was suddenly being attached to this by the education system, that it was sending a terrible signal to people who really had this as a goal, and suddenly they were being told maybe education isn't really interested in doing this with you?
There was definitely a push against getting into trades from the schools. Yeah, and even the teachers right through, even parents. I had colleague workers working with me that were older than I was at that time and had kids, and here they are, talking their kids into trying to get into education more than the trades. I don't want you doing what I did, but when you look back on it, a lot of those people had two homes and they were doing very, very well, but didn't want their kids doing some physical work or they thought they wanted more for their kids, but they're really, and a lot of those kids that ended up in spinning their wheels for 10 or 15 years, wasting their time.
Yeah, I mean, you do speak exactly to it, which is we always want more for our children, and I wonder why some of your colleagues didn't see um, another generation going into the trades as being more for them.
I think probably like exactly you said, everybody wants more for their kids, wants them to be more and that. But, as far as the trades go, it's a very rewarding industry to get into. If you're focused and driven, like I said earlier, you can go a long, long ways and make very good money.
So you're a leader at 21. You're running some projects or initiatives on sites and things. Tell me a little bit about the evolution of your leadership style. What I was a young manager at one point where everybody was older than me in my workplace. That's not an easy thing to start with, right?
Well, being the boss's son's not an easy role.
Right.
Everybody looks down on you and, oh, he's never going to be able to do this and all those types of things. But I think looking back at it, there was some role models for myself. I came to the conclusion very quickly that if you're going to tell somebody how to do or what to do, you need to know how to do it yourself. And I think that's a big problem out there is I think a lot of people get direction from people which really don't have a clue about what they're asking people to do.
Yeah. So you made it a mission to learn every job, basically?
Yeah, I basically I had the opportunities and worked my way into learning how to do finish carpentry, formwork, framing, putting door hardware on, everything, and a huge benefit for myself because when even today walking around the job sites, I can look at someone doing something and I can say, hey, that's not. Try this or do let's give this a try or yes, and it's not very common anymore. It used to be quite common with some of the companies decades ago that they would have someone that actually knew how to do all the work.
So when you have that kind of granular understanding of the jobs, how do you make sure that you then don't micromanage people?
You learn how. I mean, everybody wants some type of backup, whether it be criticism is part of the game. It goes with giving someone a good pat on the shoulders for doing a good job. Yeah, unfortunately, I think in a lot of today's workforce out there, they don't take criticism at all, and they don't want to hear it. It's not really criticism. You're just trying to mentor them and teach them how to do something the right way.
Yeah, well, it's the construction business, so criticism can be constructive, right? It doesn't have to always be very difficult for people. But you're talking there about emotion, and I know that you've spent a good deal of time really understanding the complexities of mental health in the workplace, and we've certainly picked up on it considerably during the pandemic, when it became really clear that job sites, workplaces had people that had some mental health needs that needed to be addressed. Tell me a little bit there about what you're learning and what you're concluding about the importance of addressing mental health in your workforce.
Well, I've always been pretty compassionate with people and their problems, and I mean everybody's got different issues that come up at certain periods of their time of their lives, but it's definitely different than it was 20, 30 years ago. You didn't see much of it. People kept it really to themselves, and a lot of the crutch that people use was alcohol, but now it's turned to drugs, unfortunately. I'm not saying that alcohol is a good thing at all, but in moderation, I think it's probably a better route than the drug path. But yeah, no, I'm seeing it, and it's very difficult to deal with. Absenteeism doesn't help, our business or help someone building up their employee dedication to the company. So, but in a company like ours, I mean, when we get up to 200-300 people, you could be missing, 10 or 15 people a day. And for all various reasons, I mean, we all went through COVID and had to adapt to that. But there's a lot of mental health issues out there now. And we try to work with people, and I really try to understand and I definitely give them their space. And we got, ability to get them into rehab programs and things. And so we do our best.
Yeah. What do you think comes back to you as an employer when you find ways to give to your employees that attention?
I've never really thought of that. I mean, it's just something that we try to do. I mean, our employees to us, especially the people that give it their best every day, they're like family to us.
In concluding in all of this, I'm still left with this sense in the series of discussions that I've had with the leaders, including you, that we've got to find a way to get younger people connected again to this. I mean, there's an obvious industrial need, an economic need for more housing, more, just basically more infrastructure maintenance, all kinds of things. And yet we're not producing the numbers properly. We're having to go outside of our region, outside of our country sometimes in order to get the workforce that we need in order to fulfill some projects. Help me understand here where you think we can make a difference to start to repopulate the trades properly.
It's something that I probably know a bit about because I've seen it over the last, 44, 45 years. So I think the biggest it's not the problem, but the biggest contributor would be parents and, getting kids into playing outside, building go-karts, doing whatever they do, whatever kids do, encouraging their kids. And then foremost is the school system. They need to get the trades back into schools. And, we've been preaching this for 30 years, and it still hasn't happened to the point where we're going to get interest and kids involved in doing different things and working with their hands. And I mean, it takes a lot to make a tradesperson, no matter whether you're electrical, mechanical, or carpentry. It takes a lot, and it's more than just a 4-year apprenticeship. So I don't know, I've had numerous meetings with school boards and with government entities and things to try to let's get the schools motivated, get some shops back in there, give them some equipment to work with, some materials, and give the kids the opportunity to show them, what we do, bring us in to talk to them. And there's just not enough of that, or if there is any of that going on, it's just not enough to satisfy the needs for tradespeople.
School field trips don't go to construction sites, from what I can hear.
They don't, but why not?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't, even if they walk around the site and have a look and just see what's going on. And I mean, they're very interesting. And there's cranes, and there could be excavators, and, people putting things together, and deliveries, and there's action happening all the time. So yeah, why not?
I'm not sure you can see where I am, but I mean, the one thing we didn't have growing up was this thing, the iPhone. How are we going to get attention away from that thing?
Well, it almost seems like that phone's now a people's right, whether they're working or what they're doing. And it is a problem. But, I still think kids today just haven't got the right message from their upbringing, possibly part of it. Not saying in all cases, because there is lots of really good kids around that are focused. But I blame it mostly a lot on the schools. I really do. And what our government is doing for the schools and promoting the trades and getting people involved. In grade 12, our class I worked on for the last half of the year, we built a house right on the school campus.
Oh, neat.
So that's super interesting,
Oh yeah. You can see, but in a way, what you're saying too is that it has to be tangible. It can't just be on a whiteboard. It can't just be a computer program that's doing a design. That you really need to get your hands on this to then experience the joy in it.
There's those people that learn by sitting in a classroom, and then there's probably, I'll bet you, 75% of the population learn by actually doing things and doing it. And you see it all the time. I think even an apprentice that goes through his 4-year schooling, I think 95% of what he will learn is learned on the site and doing the job and looking around and seeing what other people are doing and how they're doing it. And that's how I learned. I looked and I looked at someone and I go, I wouldn't do that way. And oh, that guy's doing it. Maybe I take a bit of the both, and maybe there's a right to me there. So you learn by seeing and doing, and that's what most people, that's how they learn.
Campbell Construction, of course, is a giant in this province, and of course you operate it. I wonder if you have, in closing, a sense of how you want your own career to be remembered, and what it is you'd like to be known for in the industry as a form of legacy.
I think for myself personally, it's just the satisfaction of walking down this downtown Victoria or anywhere and just looking at what we've built. And, the people that we've mentored over the years and the families that we've been able to feed through our employment to them. And and I've seen, we've had some real top-notch people develop through our company, and some of them have decided to stick with us and some have not. But it's been very satisfying. I mean, the only part that I feel that I would like to help further is development of the trades, and how do we create a real tradesperson.
Mm. Well, that's a good next chapter. And I want to thank you today for your time. You've had a great career, and one of high integrity. I think that speaks to the caliber of people that lead our industries in British Columbia. Thanks so much for your time today, Wayne.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks for watching this edition of our special series on construction leaders in British Columbia. I'm Kirk Lapointe.